Anagaji, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And like I always say, I'm very privileged to be a part of this group. All of y'all are much senior and much more scholarly. And therefore, I always feel that whatever I bring here is from my experience, and I bring it to you in all honesty, sincerity, and genuinity. So if there's anything that is a little here and there, please forgive me. So I was thinking a lot before I put the word magic there, and the word science was a strong contender. But then I think when these two things come together, the belief, faith, and trust that we have in our sciences, that really becomes magic. And it's so good that sometimes we start doubting if it's really that good, too good to be true. So, yeah, I think that's why the word magic. But yes, broadly, the topic is breath and inner balance. So, because all of us here are students of Vedanta, and there has always been so much of learning, mutual learning in this space, I'd like to bring this up, which is the cosmic and individual life force, which is the prana. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about the breath, right? And like in our Vedanta, it is said that breath is far more than just the air that travels through the body. It is vital energy, life force, or the basis of all existence. And so, if we could think of it as an invisible energy that animates everything, right? It actually gives life and prana to everything around. And it's not only about the physical vitality, it is very intricately related to our mind and emotions. And in the Vedantic understanding, it is said that, practicing the breath is very important because that is what brings us the grounding, the centering, the balance. And that's where the word inner balance also comes from, which is also so apt, in fact. Um, as the breath, so the mind. Yatha shvasaha tatha manaha. That ancient adage, it really uh, captures the essence of what we are going to be talking today. Like, if you have recently experienced an unpleasant event or have heard a news that has really shaken you, the first thing that gets affected is your breath. And when the breath gets affected, everything else in the body responds to that. And that's when we experience the actual emotion. So, yeah, it is intricately linked to our mind and body. It's also a bridge to well being. And that's where the practices like pranayama or various, it's expressed in various words or various names, like the Sudarshan Kriya or Sadhguru's inner engineering, or like our Patanjali Muni had been talking about all his life, the pranayama, right? The yogic practices. It's one of the ang of the yoga, right? Of the a part of that Ashtanga yoga that's been given. So it directly interacts, influences, and helps us establish that connection with our physical as well as mental, emotional well-being. Um, Needless to say, I mean, enhanced organ function, circulation, and energy levels are some benefits of the breath. That's what drives it in our body. And for emotional health, it's reduced anxiety, improved focus, a quieter mind. And I'm sure all of us here practice some or the other kind of breath work, mindfulness, breathing, anything that kind of meditation, anything that kind of gives you that understanding of the breath, right? It is said that 90% of purification in the body occurs only through breath, right? So the inhaling and exhaling is something that's all pervading, that is central to everybody. And it's so simple, but yet so complex. And then there are the koshas or the layers of being and the breath's role, right? The physical body, the densest layer which is nourished by food, but the breath is what actually digests that food for us. The energy or the vital body, which is the prana, it controls not only the physiological functions, it's deeply connected to our emotions. So every time you experience a little turbulence in your emotions, you would see that the breath is affected, right? Have you caught yourself um, taking in a deep breath when you are waiting for something to happen? Like you rub your hands and you go, have you caught yourself doing that? And all of that is a deep connection to the emotions, which is, if we are mindful, first reflects in our breath. So when prana flows freely, emotional balance is naturally supported. If I can become one with that rhythm, automatically, you see, if you just close your eyes and you just imagine the thought of yourself breathing calmly and nicely, you automatically start feeling that sense of peace around you. The Manomaya Kosha, or mental and emotional body, that layer of thoughts, feelings, and sensory perceptions, right? Agitation directly affects the breath, and conscious breath calms the agitation down. And how do sensory perceptions come in? Sensory perceptions are nothing but that which we perceive with our five sense organs. So if you see something visually disturbing, it kind of, you use these expressions that my heart missed a beat or my breath was stuck, right? So these are ways in which we express the sensation of that emotion, and the sensation of that emotion is largely connected to the breathing patterns. So that's the emotional body for us. The Vijnanmaya Kosha, or wisdom and intellect, the sheath of intuition and higher knowledge. So when you have enough calmness and when you're breathing in a certain rhythm, then you have more clarity of thought. There's enough oxygen in the body, and therefore there's enough clarity. A calm mind, therefore, allows access to greater wisdom. You have the wisdom, but the access opens when you are in that sense of controlled, peaceful, calm breath patterns. And the bliss body, the Anandamaya Kosha, the innermost or the more subtle layer, is sometimes spiritual in nature. People call it the aura, people call it the energy, some people call it the chakras. I mean, there are different ways in which this is defined. Very difficult to arrive at one correct definition. So, we're not going to get into this is right or that is wrong. I think everyone's understanding of this is beautiful and rich and dense in their own way. The more you read, the more you get drawn into all of that. But closest to pure consciousness is something that the Vedanta or our practices describe as Anandamaya Kosha. A balanced pranayama and Manomaya Kosha pave the way for experiencing this inherent bliss, which means if I have good breath and good breath control, or if I practice this kind of breathing, I'm able to touch upon all of these layers and bring into me that sense of well being, or cultivate in me that energy access, which I can access in times when I'm a little shaken or when something stressful happens in the real world. Let's come to the modern science. How is this related? Of course, our ancestors always knew this. We're just rediscovering the knowledge for ourselves, bridging ancient wisdom and modern science, from the prana, the breath, to the autonomic nervous system. Ancient traditions spoke of prana, like we were talking, as the universal life force, subtly influencing mind and body. Modern science uses terms like the autonomic nervous system, the control center for involuntary bodily functions, which include the breath, the heart rate, and digestion. Now, if you see, breath or breathing is one activity which is involuntary also and can be influenced voluntarily also. Like you can actually breathe intentionally and breathe in a certain pattern to rework the nervous system, right? So the shared understanding is both frameworks recognize that breath is not a mechanical process, but it's a profound link to our internal state. Breathing is an involuntary activity. Even when I'm not thinking about it, it is happening. But it also can become an intentional activity for me to use. It's like an instrument which I can use to make my body function in a certain way, to make my nervous system function in a certain way. So that's the shared understanding that though it is a natural involuntary process, it can also be utilized to really get through to that those parts of our body, that nervous system, activate certain areas of our body to help us achieve that inner peace, or to help us be in that resourceful state from where I can um, deal with the stressors of life that present to me day in and day out, because life happens. We're not looking to eliminate stress or eliminate emotions. That cannot happen. But what we're looking at is to use these resources, build a resourceful state to kind of navigate those stressors, those situations, and those emotions in a relatively effective manner. So, just as prana can be disturbed by inner turmoil, the ANS directly responds to stress. The autonomic nervous system responds to stress, and the body kicks into action. And when the body kicks into action, there are certain changes. Muscles become rigid, breathing changes, and everything is controlled by this nervous system, right? In the body. So, therefore, the power of conscious intervention is the remarkable insight that both in ancient and modern sciences tell us that by consciously controlling our breath, by intentionally using breath, we can achieve these, we can influence these deeper systems from moving from that space of alertness response to a relative calmer space. So we get a little more into the nervous system. It's interesting knowledge, and knowledge always helps. It helps us to join the dots between what we've been practicing, what we see in daily lives, and to kind of connect the two. So there are two sides of the nervous system, which is the sympathetic nervous system, which gets activated by stress when we perceive danger, either real or imagined. And this danger might not be physical danger. It could also be a danger to my identity. It could be a threat. I might perceive someone or some relationship around me as threat, right? So that activates the fight or flight response. And I'm already, if I have a problem with a certain relationship in my life, or when I have a problem with a certain context in my life, that, for example, whenever I go to the doctor, I feel agitated, I have stress, I feel that doctor's stable BP issue or whatever, that's a perceived danger. And this system kicks in. So whenever there is stress, the system kicks in. Breathing response is rapid, shallow, upper chest breathing. Physical effects include increased heart rate, blood pressure, muscle tension, heightened alertness, because now the body is preparing to fight. And what are we preparing to fight? Something that's imagined, something that's perceived, right? And emotional effects again are anxiousness, fear, irritability, difficulty in concentration. The other side is the parasympathetic nervous system, which is activated by the calm. So when the stress is over, then it brings in relaxation. That brings in healing. That brings in restoration. Now, can we activate the parasympathetic nervous system? Is it involuntary? It is, but it can be activated by conscious, intentional breathing practices. And that's why breathing is so central to all kinds of healing practices. Any healing practice is, in my opinion, a little incomplete without mindfulness and breathing. So the breathing response is slow, deep, diaphragmatic breathing, belly breathing, which is what we practice in pranayama. Breathe from your belly as you breathe in, you know, uh, expand your belly, and as you breathe out, let it go in and um, as in as possible, basically. Physical effects include decreased heart rate, low blood pressure, relaxed muscles, improved digestion, immune function. And therefore, when people are exposed to stress for a very long period of time, then they have these lifestyle disorders where digestion or GERD, hyperacidity, high blood pressure, or even in extreme cases, immune malfunction, right? Autoimmune diseases or skin issues and things like that. The emotional effects of the parasympathetic nervous system are calmness, peace, clarity, contentment, that sense of grounding and settling down. So, your breath is your remote control. Our breath is the only part of the autonomous nervous system that we can consciously manipulate, right? Giving us direct access to be able to put our bodies into the parasympathetic and sympathetic responses. So, whenever I recognize a sympathetic nervous system response, when I am breathing shallow or when there is some stress, I can breathe and consciously activate the other nervous system, which is something that we've been doing. But I think a lot of it is in terms of practices where we finish our pranayama in the morning and then we are living life as is. But if we can take this breath into my daily life, and if I can use this breath in the moment of distress, I think I'll be able to relieve my distress much easier, and thus also reduce the wear and tear on my body, because every time my autonomic nervous system gets activated, the body is also going through wear and tear, because there's tension, there is fight, there is alertness, and then there is rest and digest in the parasympathetic thing. So what's happening here? More energy is being consumed. So it will help us to recover that as well. Nowadays, it's a very popular thing, the polyvagal theory. I'm sure you've heard about it a lot. So basically, the vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve, which means it extends from the brain stem through the neck and chest and down to the abdomen through most major organs, right? So in the parasympathetic nervous system, the um activation of your vagus nerve plays a very important role. So one way to activate that is what we do with our neck rotations. Can you all do this with me? If we can all go up very slow and come down, and then move your head from left and right, and maybe turn your neck to the opposite corner behind you, to the opposite corner behind you, both ways. And see, when you are able to twist this, just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and now explore the relationship between your head, your neck, your shoulders, and your spine. And as you do this, you realize that a lot of rigidness or tension is here is resolved. There's more circulation, there's more warmth, and you can feel it in all of in your upper body at least. So a healthy vagal tone is the ability of this nerve to respond in times of stress, to calm the body down faster, to activate the relaxation response. So it's associated with better stress resilience. That means you are better able to handle everyday stress, improved emotional regulation, reduction in agitation or temper tantrums or crying or anger, all of that. Reduced inflammation, if there is anything in the body to do with inflammation, it helps with that as well. And enhanced social connection, because when you are connected with the self, it's easier for you to connect with the environment around you. Apart from these neck activities that we just did, slow, deep, rhythmic breathing, especially with a longer exhale, directly stimulates the vagus nerve To think of it that this science or this knowledge was wisdom was probably available to our ancestors, and that's why the meditation practices, if you learn, are always you inhale, hold, and exhale longer than you've inhaled, right? Now that's the reason why we do that. And this sends signals to your brain that it is safe, that you can relax, thereby reducing the cortisol levels. Cortisols are stress hormones in our body. So whenever the body is alert or under stress, there are more cortisols. And every time I do this rhythmic breathing, like breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale longer. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It promotes the feeling of calm and security. So, through your neck movements and through your breathing, you have the capacity to activate this system for you so that you can put your body in a relaxation response sooner. Yeah. So, the neural pathway explains how the ancient wisdom of breath control scientifically translates into tangible benefits of our physiological, psychological, and physical well being, mental well being. All right. So, are we all in for an activity? And if you all can do this activity with me, I'm sure that we have all faced these moments of mild frustration, anxiety, or stress. It could be a traffic light, it could be a visit to the doctor, it could be awaiting the result of your blood reports, it could be something at work, a deadline, it could be a family conflict, anything, right? So here's what I'd like all of y'all to do. If you can, or those who can, please put on your videos for this activity so we can all see each other actually breathing. Great. Okay, let us think of a recent moment of frustration, anxiety, anger, sadness, fear. It could be anything. Let's not take something very major, but let's take something that's really affected you in the last 1 week. So I'd request all of you to close your eyes and think of that event. Just think of that event, remember that event, relive that event. It could be a screaming grandchild, or a fight between the neighbors and you, or a conflict between the family, or a financial loss that you incurred, anything. And as you relive that memory and as you think about it, without changing anything, notice what's happening to your breath. Is it fast? Is it shallow? Is your chest tight? Are your shoulders tight? Is there any other sensation in the body? Just observe without judgment. Just observe. And as we do that, gently shift your attention to your lower belly. Inhale slowly through the nose, letting your belly expand like a balloon. And exhale slowly through the nose, letting your belly gently contract. Try and keep your chest relatively still. Focus on the smooth, calm, quiet flow of air. Inhale and expand. Exhale and contract. Inhale and allow the belly to expand. Exhale and allow the contraction. Let's do this one last time. Inhale and allow the body and the belly to expand. And exhale and allow the contraction. In your own time, you can open your eyes and come back. And I have a few questions for reflection. So anyone who's willing can chat in your responses or can unmute and speak if you can do that. I don't know if that's possible, but yeah, I think chatting in is definitely a possibility.
Yeah, everyone's mic is on right now. They can speak if they want to.
Sure. So what did you notice about your breathing when you were recalling the stressful event?
Ma'am, please repeat the sentence.
What did you notice about the breathing when you were recalling the stressful event? What was happening to the breath? What did you notice about your breathing when you recalled stress? What shifted when you intentionally shifted your breath? And towards the end of this, did you feel any subtle changes in your mind or body as you breathed more deeply, as you did this belly breathing? Just take a moment and think about it, and I'm sure you will have your own answers. We will move on to another simpler activity, which also helps in increasing or activating the parasympathetic response. Okay, which is known as the sigh of relief. Okay, for emotional release. It's known as a sigh of relief for a certain reason, right? Because it gives you that relief. So let's do this. Let's get comfortable. Sit tall with your spine straight as much as you can. And I'm going to demonstrate this. Take a full deep breath in through your nose, okay, and audibly exhale with a sigh. You might want to include a little bit of your hand gestures also. This is also something that we do when we wake up in the morning, right? So you may want to do that. So breathe in and exhale with a sigh. Can we all do that? Can we all do that once? I can't see anyone on the screen, but I'm hoping that someone is trying this out for themselves. Yes. Breathe in, hold, and exhale with a sigh. Like really go. Yes. Again, I would invite chat responses. I would invite people to respond to this. How does that feel? Did you notice any physical changes over here? Did you notice any lightness in here? Was there something that was constricted and it feels lighter and better as you exhale? Right? Now, whenever I feel a pent up of emotion in my entire day, can I just do this and see if all of this really clears up? Can we try and figure out if it really works? I mean, why practice pranayama only during the meditation session? Why not take it into my day? Why not make it a way of life? Possible, right? And that brings me to this, that we're trying to put together everything that we did today. So, your breath is an accessible tool for psychological well-being. And these days, we are hearing a lot about how mental health affects the physical health. So if everything's right over here, then we're going to probably add more years to the life, more to our physical health, right? So, how are we empowering our mental well being? Through physiology, through intentional breath work, right? So, breath isn't about survival only, it's a direct pathway to access your nervous system. And you feel powerful that I have the power to shift myself from a non resourceful state to a resourceful state, to an high alert mode to a calm, relaxed mode, right? So, breathing and conscious breathing are therefore very powerful tools for emotional regulation, right? And we all need emotional regulation because we all experience various emotions in various intensities through every day, right? So, therefore, this breath creates a very crucial pause. So when something happens, and before I respond to that, if I'm able to breathe and carry my meditation into everyday life situations, then I'm going to be very much more equipped to respond to that situation in a more effective manner. So it cultivates resilience and intentional responses. And there is enhanced self awareness. All of y'all who are practitioners of yoga and pranayama already have a very good understanding of this, that by consistently turning to breath, we're not only detoxifying the system, but we're also building a great way to interocept, to become aware. And this self awareness is fundamental to understand your own emotions, to understand your emotional landscapes, and to address any other psychological patterns or conflicts that arise in my everyday life. And therefore, we must integrate this breath into our daily life, not just in those pockets of meditation when I practice meditation in my day, but just bringing it in and creating a regular lifestyle, making it a way of life. So, consistency over intensity, breath work, compound it with regular and consistent practice. 2 to 5 minutes of mindful breathing every 1 hour or every 2 hour can really rewire the nervous system. And imagine the benefits with something so small. Your personal resource, your breath is always your constant resource, something that is at your service, something that you can consciously control. If I say breathe, inhale, hold, you could do that, right? So your breathing is at your service. You can use it intentionally to regulate, to anchor, to focus. There are so many ways in which this one simple breath can be used, right? From a psychological standpoint, I think integrating breath work offers a holistic, a wholesome approach to well-being. So it's not just about managing emotions or managing your stress or managing something that we are dealing with, but it also is a long term thing which supports healing, but it also supports growth, right? To ultimately a more balanced and fulfilling life. And so I encourage you to experiment with these simple techniques and bring in your breath work from your meditation practices into your daily life, like every day or all the time. When you're living your life through the day, become more mindful of when the emotions are rising, how I can respond to that, what's happening to my breath when this happens. And as I become more aware and more mindful of this, I'm sure that you can discover the power of your breath beyond your meditation, fixed meditation timings, right? And then obviously transform your psychological landscape. So we want to end with an activity, but before that, if there are any interactions, any reflections, I would love to hear those. And once we finish this activity, then of course, like always, we will end with the prayer. But if there is anything, I'm more than willing to be here and participate and learn also from all of you. And if not, we can carry on building a resourceful state and then quietly exiting into the prayer that Vaniji always does for us.
Can we have it after your activity so that maybe we can consolidate our thoughts by that time?
Sure, we can do that. So I shall go ahead. And this is an activity where I would encourage all of you all to participate. And it will be wonderful if we can together bless each other, connect with each other, and kind of create this resourceful state for all of us. So here we go. Everyone, let's sit tall with your spine straight. With this technique, we're going to try and synchronize our heart rhythm and breath, creating a state of resourcefulness, which is highly beneficial for all of us, emotional balance. Okay? We'll aim for a steady, smooth rhythm. And all of y'all can follow your own rhythm. So someone might have more practice and therefore they might be able to draw in longer breaths and exhale that much more. But some who are not practicing so much might have a smaller duration. So maybe you could think of 4 counts. So you inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 1, 2, 3, 4, exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and just breathe. Don't strain, just find a comfortable space around your body, in your body. Close your eyes and breathe. Breathe in that natural rhythm that you've created for yourself. Breathe. And as you breathe, become aware of the breath that goes in and comes out. This breath that flows through our body is an expression of life. Life itself, the warmth and the life, the current, the energy. And with each breath, breathe that life into you. Now gently bring your awareness to the area of your heart. Imagine your breath flowing in and out of your heart space. And as this breath flows into your heart space, gently invite an emotion. It could be an emotion of appreciation, gratitude, care, or love. It could be for a pet, or a loved one, or a friend, or someone who's ailing and you want to send them healing. It could be visualizing a beautiful moment that you've shared with someone. And cultivate that emotion in that heart space. Give it breath and infuse the prana within it for it to grow, expand, and fill it with its warmth. And feel it expanding and growing within you with every inflow of the breath. And you may want to sway, express with your body, rock, use your hands to open and receive the air, receive the breath, receive that emotion, and cultivate that within you. And as that appreciation, love, gratitude begins to grow within you, experience the peace that it brings with it. Experience the grounding, the centeredness, the depth of your being. Become aware of how you're anchored at the base of your spine and how there is a deep calmness within you. Also become aware of that relationship between your spine, your shoulders, your neck, your head. Observe and admire that perfect symmetry, that balance. And spend the next few moments with yourself as I wait for you to gently come back whenever you're ready. And with a small prayer to that inner balance, to your God, to whichever force that you align with, gently come back to your seats and you can open your eyes. Thank you so much. Thank you.